Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7-Minute Workshop, during which we chat with experts to break down complicated or timely topics that affect your business. And we do it in just 7 minutes. It takes more time than that to wake up a teenager for school in the morning, or at least it used to. My teenagers are gone. Anyway, our theme this month is focused on helping you prepare for the 2021 holiday season. And today, we'll dive into creating a successful omni-channel experience that allows you to meet your customers wherever they want to be, which is very important right now. E-commerce acceleration has resulted in the acceleration of omni-channel fulfillment. So we'll cover what that means for your business, the tools to help you with that, and because we know things won't go as planned, how to prepare for disruptions. To dive into all of this, we'll be joined by NetSuite experts Allison Auclair, who's the VP of Product Management, and Abby Jenkins, our Product Marketing Manager. Now, a quick reminder before we get started. If you have any questions throughout today's discussion, you can ask them in the comments and we'll get to them at the end of the conversation. And don't forget, tell us where you're tuning in from. We know that you've signed in from all parts of the world, and we'd love to give you a shout out right back from wherever we are in the world. Maybe we'll reveal that in a moment, but feel free to tell us ways in which your company is delivering a great omni-channel experience. What fulfillment options are you offering? And are you trying anything new? How are you preparing for supply chain obstacles? Or if you're on the customer side, what are you expecting? How high have your expectations risen? We want to hear it all. Okay, please join me in welcoming Allison Auclair and Abby Jenkins. Hey, Allison. Hey, Abby. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Fritz. It's great to be here.
Hi, Fritz.
Okay, let's get started. What is, Abby, a successful omni-channel experience? What does that look like?
Well, I think you hit on it a minute ago in your introduction, and it's especially true this year with our ever-changing situation with the Delta variant and the pandemic, but it's all about meeting your customer where they want to be. And I think that that is a moving target right now. So does that mean that shoppers are going to want to really embrace the traditional holiday season and be shopping in the store? Or are they going to prefer to order online? Do they want those items shipped to them? Would they like to pick them up in the store? Would they like to have curbside pickup? It's really meeting our customers where they're comfortable and where they want to be. And that's what is going to make businesses ultimately successful, I think, this holiday season, is being able to have a consistent experience no matter where you're shopping across whatever channels they may be.
You make it sound so easy, but the answers are difficult. Abby, also, what shopping trends are we seeing or expecting to see this holiday season, and what does that mean for businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, last year we really saw that huge acceleration in e-commerce sales as a result of brick and mortar stores being shut down. And we don't expect for that to go back. So we don't expect those e-commerce sales to decrease. So what that means for us this year is that we really need to be ready to fulfill all of those omni-channel orders as they come in. If businesses didn't try it next year, I think that we're pretty confident that the curbside pickup and that the flexible fulfillment options are not something that is just a short-term thing, that they're here to stay. So even if you didn't try it next year, I think customer expectations have evolved, and that is an expectation now of customers that you will be able to meet them there. And so I think it's time for businesses really to look and to expand the ways that they're able to engage with the customer and the ways that they're able to fulfill those orders. And at the same time, we know that many businesses have been faced with labor shortages. And so we need a plan to be able to execute on fulfilling all of these orders that are going to come in. We know that it is difficult, that many businesses don't have the labor that they would like to have to be able to do this. And so how can they be flexible? How can they be innovative in the way that they're able to get orders out the door quickly?
Yeah, all of those things. We're starting to see that happen now. I've been in Washington, D.C. these last few weeks, and the things you were talking about with curbside, some of these retailers are setting up special, curbside offerings as well, which I think is pretty slick. And I mentioned I was in D.C. We have some hellos from Denver, Cameroon, the UK, and Modesto. And just going back to Cameroon, one of my favorite capitals to pronounce. I've never been there yet. I'm going to be there soon, I hope. Yaoundé, I think, is the capital of Cameroon. I love saying that. Yaoundé. I hope I'm saying it right. Correct me if I'm wrong, the person tuning in from Cameroon. Allison, how do I expand my options? What tools can help me with this?
Yeah, so it's really critical to have good visibility into your inventory. That would be the key thing to think about first. And to have tools that help you manage how you're going to fulfill. So most people underestimate the impact of having these tools. You could do omnichannel fulfillment in a way that is manual, but we know that store inventory, for example, is very fluid. And so there will be exceptions that you need to manage. Having really good visibility to the inventory across all of your different locations, having rules about how, for example, you want to fulfill in the case of something like ship from store. You need to have visibility to what's in the store, but also processes that if something's not available, what's my next best option? How do I automate and make sure that that gets out to the customer as soon as possible? So it is important to think about what is the plan, get those tools ready in advance of the holiday season.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit last week. There are going to be supply chain issues. That those are not going away as we continue to see. They seem to be mounting up. New ones emerge to keep us on our toes. How do businesses plan for disruption?
Yeah, so the key is to be ready to adapt. We talked last week a little bit about have plan B, C, and D. Well, that goes for omnichannel fulfillment as well, because as Abby pointed out, we don't know how consumers are going to respond to changing circumstances. So it may be that people want to go into the store. It may be that you see more people wanting to do a curbside pickup, for example, because they don't want to go into the store, or just have it shipped to them. And you may ship from store in order to make sure that you make the best use of your inventory. So knowing how you're going to shift and then being ready to really proactively shift between the different fulfillment options as you see how your customer base are reacting, that's really critical.
Do you have any, real life examples of businesses that are able to make these kind of quick shifts and be agile, like you're discussing?
I think there's a few great examples that I know about. One is Henry Bears Park. They're one of our NetSuite customers in my local Boston area. And one of the stories I really loved was last year they were able to very quickly switch as things locked down for the pandemic. Right? They couldn't have people in the stores. They were able to actually ship out of their store, do curbside pickup though, so they could turn all store fulfillment off, then turn on just what was allowed, and then finally open it back up when the lockdown stopped. So the fact that they were able to just quickly flick a switch and change how they were fulfilling to adapt to those changes, that really helped them to survive. I think we also see examples of customers who pivoted in their business model, who didn't have an online presence, who quickly stood that up. And I think that's another great example of adapting to the changing market demands, and so that your business can continue to thrive.
Yeah, and it sounds like we've, because of the circumstances that we found our businesses in during the pandemic, and even coming out of it, hopefully to some extent, at least as the economy has reopened, we've kind of gotten all the bruises and hard knocks that will just accelerate for the holidays. We're going to open this up to some questions from the audience now for those tuning in. If you do have questions, keep commenting, keep shouting out. We're going to do our best to say hello and answer as many questions throughout the remainder of our time. And speaking of which, Richard from Cameroon, who acknowledges that I did, in fact, say the capital city of Cameroon correctly, Yaoundé. Asks this question. I own a startup product and service delivery for 2 years now, still facing huge difficulties to establish business relations. I don't know that that's a question or that we have any advice for you, but we're rooting for you and hoping that you can keep pressing through. Sometimes these things just take a lot of time. So best of luck with that. Question number one, what shopping trends did we see last year, and were there any surprises in that? And that question goes to, I don't know, whoever wants to answer that. Abby, do you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. I think, like I alluded to a little bit earlier, we saw a huge uptick in our e-commerce sales last year, and just the adoption of pickup in store, which actually was more pickup curbside last year. And so I don't think that that was necessarily a surprise given the circumstances. That was to be anticipated. But I really think that the adoption of curbside pickup as more of a mainstream fulfillment is a surprising addition to what we're seeing going forward. Allison, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think that is really good trend to call out. I think we're also seeing, as a result of the pandemic, more shift to ship from store, right? Because inventory is distributed out and you want to make the best use of your inventory. So it's great to offer that convenience to customers, and having the additional convenience of getting it to them fast from the closest location and saving you money and reducing markdowns is a great benefit too.
Is it just a quick follow-up on that for you guys? With all of these omni-channel fulfillment options, how is that affecting returns? It's like, and now I'm expecting I can pick up wherever, get it same day, whatever. My expectations now rise to, I can just, I can return it the same way. And I think last year I do remember being able to do almost, I think in one big retailer, I'm not going to name who it was, I was able to do a return from the parking lot, but do these expectations expand to the return policies as well? And is that going to create more challenges for businesses?
Stay tuned for next week. It was a perfect introduction.
Wow. Wow. Somebody wants my host job.
I guess so. And related to that, though, I've even heard models, particularly in apparel, where you buy online and reserve in store so you can go try it on. So you don't even prevent returns because you're going to try it on before you even buy it. And that way, if you don't like it, you can switch. So that's another interesting option that some people are offering.
Okay, so we're not going to dive too deeply into that since we have that topic for next week. Question 2 from Sarah in San Francisco. How do I expand my fulfillment options amid the labor shortage? That's something that we talked about a little bit earlier. Are there ways to do that without adding to my workforce? Really
good question. And I think when you look at how do you make that work, it's all about automation, right? So those tools and having them in place to make the decisions for you as much as possible and streamline your process in store are really important. So for example, if you've already got an engine that's citing like this is the right store to fulfill from, and I know that they have it in stock, and you can just slide it in and have somebody quickly pick in, and their process to do that is super simple, then you can take the labor that's already in store and be able to execute on those processes because you're not creating a lot of extra manual work for them.
Got it. Thank you. And then another question from Andrew in Detroit. How difficult will it be to adapt in real time without having planned for disruption? How do I mitigate that risk?
I think it's all about having like a daily understanding of how things are moving and where your sales are coming from. So we aren't in the situation where we can look at the month of November, or we can even look at a week, because so many sales come in this short amount of time. I think that people really need to be, they need to have a track on this daily so that they can understand the trends and that they're able to make those shifts before it's too late.
All right. Well, that is all we have time for today. Thank you, Allison and Abby, for joining us this week, and we'll see you again next week.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, Fritz.
And as always, a big thanks to all of you for tuning in. Richard in Yaoundé, if your product is coffee, by the way, I'm very interested. You'll have a customer. Anyway, we'll be back again, as we said, with Abby and Allison next week, and we're going to continue discussing ways to deliver omni-channel success and a positive customer experience after the holidays, especially as we were just discussing when it comes to returns. And that is happening on Tuesday, September 28th at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. See you then.